it's okay to feel lost. I was thinking about just that and how everywhere we look in society, no matter which way you turn, as a young person, everyone expects you to know what you want to do. You know, everyone expects you to have it all figured out. There's such a pressure, not even just from like the traditional channels in society. I think there's a lot of that even from like the more fringe social media outlets as well, like, and I worded that poorly, but I mean, like, there's obviously pressure from like parents, school teachers. You know, you're pushed, you got to go to college. What do you go to college for, right? You have to declare a major. If you don't, you know, you can just get a general degree, but you might as well not go to college at that point because that's a complete waste of time. But then also on the other side, there's like all these influencers, you know, like I'm picturing like an Andrew Tate type. Not, although not necessarily quite as egregious perhaps, but just there's, you know, this push of like, oh, you know, you're not rich yet, you know, you don't have a Lambo by 21, you know. And so it's not maybe quite as much a push as like, no, you have to figure out specifics, but there's very much like on social media there's this push to like, no, you got to figure out how to get rich ASAP, you know. And then the traditional route is, no, you got to figure out what you want to do with your life ASAP, you know. And there's a lot of pressure around that. And it's not that it's unimportant, right? Because I mean, there's obviously an extent to where, like, yes, you know, you can't just drift through your whole life. You know, you can't be 50 years old with nothing, you know, nothing to show for it. You know, you can't be drifting through your entire life. You know, but at 20, like if you're in your early 20s, like this is the time to figure out what you want to do. This is the time to figure it out. But just make sure that you remember that that's what you have to do. You don't have to get it figured out. You have to spend time figuring it out, if that makes sense. Like basically what I'm trying to say is, like, accept that it's going to sometimes take time, right? If you know right out of the gate, like if you somehow have figured it out from like ever since I was 4 years old, I knew for a fact I wanted to do this. It always excited me. I've been working towards this since a young age. And now I'm fully invested in this. I'm locked in on it. Like, whatever. That's great. A lot of people haven't had that experience. I know I sure haven't had that experience. And I guess part of what's prompting me to make this video is just the other day I was, you know, having just yet another conversation with some of the people in my family and in my life who, you know, yet again just kind of asking like, "Oh, well, have you figured out?" You know, and like, just it's okay to not have it figured out. Now, obviously, again, like, you know, I'm all about giving yourself grace, but also setting a high standard. Like that's kind of where I'm coming from a lot of the time. So it's like, again, it's important to figure it out, but just don't get discouraged by people who act like disappointed in you because you haven't figured it out yet. You know, like, because I think it's really easy to get discouraged and feel like a failure, you know, because you haven't figured it out yet. And it's like, you know, you don't have to figure it out just yet. Like you know, yeah, it's important to figure out. But at the same time too, I mean, you know, there's people in their 40s and 50s who make a complete career change, you know, they completely shift focus to something completely different. You know, and it's okay to not have it all figured out. Like, yes, should you be trying to figure it out 100%? You know, if all you're doing all day is just sitting around playing video games and scrolling and not putting any meaningful thought into anything, you know, maybe you should start buckling down and trying to figure it out. But if you're really, like, if you are trying to figure out your life, you know, it doesn't even have to necessarily be a job or, you know, what you want to do or whatnot. Like, it doesn't have to be specifically that. But if you're going through a period of like finding out stuff about yourself, if you're trying to learn something about yourself, just remember that it's okay that you don't have all the answers right now. And remember also, I mean, it's equal parts discouraging and encouraging to know that we're never going to have all the answers. It's discouraging for someone like me because in a lot of ways, I'm a perfectionist, and I like to know that I can achieve anything. And I think I can achieve anything, but it's like I like to feel like no matter what it is, like I can learn everything there is to know and I can know everything, but it's like we're not always going to have all the answers, you know? So you shouldn't get discouraged when someone holds you to the standard of having all the answers. When you don't have all the answers and then they treat you poorly, that's on them. That's not on you, right? So that's it. That's all I had. If you made it all the way to the end, as always, I appreciate you. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace.